What's up, nerds? Welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie, and today we are talking about all the books that I read throughout the month of July. I'm going to be giving you my reviews, my thoughts, feelings, vibes, whether I liked or hated them. Yeah, that's how it goes. So first we're going to start off with a little bit of stats. I read 9 books. 5 of those were fantasy, 2 were romance, and then 2 were regular fiction, 1 adult and 1 young adult. I read 3,610 pages, and then my average rating was a 3.25 stars. I did have a 1 star this month, so it definitely brought the rating down. But the rest of my reads were pretty decent, so let's start talking about them. First up, I read Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This book and the next book I'm talking about is a part of my reading vlog where I read my Goodreads highest versus lowest rated books on my TBR. In this book, we are following our main character, Calla, who she is the princess. She actually wreaked havoc on her palace and her parents. So we're following her, and the main concept of this story is that there's this huge game trial thing going on. It's very Hunger Games-esque. Basically, you can win a lot of riches in the end if you win the games. Everyone competing is kind of just thrown into the city. There's not really a separate arena type thing for this game going on, so that's a little crazy to me. Basically, we're following Calla and August, who is Calla's cousin, and he is actually the heir to the throne. And we have Anton, who is August's childhood friend. He also teams up with Calla during the games. They form an alliance. So there's kind of like this 3-way type connection between them. The bigger picture of this is that they really want to take the king down. They don't like the way that this world is being ran by him. So they definitely want to get him out of there and take over themselves. The world building in this, I didn't feel like it was really there. I don't think it was well thought out enough. And the biggest fantasy element to this was that you can jump in between bodies. If you have that ability and you see somebody, you can jump into their body and take it over. And I understand that it's fiction, so anything can kind of roll in a fiction novel. But there is a certain point where if you're making something that doesn't make sense in the real world, you have to have enough information to back it up that it would actually work in this fictional world. And that wasn't there. I did just get a little uncomfortable reading the whole body situation because you don't really know what happens to the other person or their mind or soul when the body is taken over. So there was a lot of confusion going on with that, and that was my biggest issue. But the book was still fun. The ending made me want to keep reading. This is going to be a trilogy, I believe. The second book is almost out. I have plans to pick it up, but I am not rushing to pick it up. But I am curious to see where this goes because the ending was pretty exciting. But nothing too special. Hopefully it gets better in the next book. I could totally do without the body jumping thing because it just, I don't know. I didn't like it. Because of that, I did have to give this a 2.75. I still enjoyed it. The whole concept was just not it for me. Book 2, which is also part of that vlog that you can go watch. I have more in-depth thoughts on these books. This is Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is the last book for now in the ACOTAR series. If you've been watching my channel for a little bit and you've been listening to my reviews on ACOTAR, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't really care for it. It's pretty average to me. I don't see anything extraordinary with it, but I still enjoy the reads. I like the characters to an extent. In this one, I did find myself kind of falling back with my likes of the characters. I felt detached from them, and I don't know why. This book specifically follows a different character in the series. The previous books we were following Feyre and her journey. In this book we get a little point of view switch, so we're following Nesta in this one. Nesta really grew on me throughout the whole series. I really grew to like her character, and I loved her character in this. I really liked her story, so I'm very happy that we got her point of view because I think if we didn't and we were still in Feyre's point of view, I wouldn't have liked this. With these books, I feel like the whole war element to this series just is not enough for me. When you're writing a fantasy novel about a war, it's so important because war is just a lot, right? In this one, there were so many mentions of a war and rivalries between different courts and the humans and the Fae, and I just feel like it didn't meet my expectations. In this one specifically, there is talk of another war starting to happen. We didn't really get a lot of that plot line. We just got a lot of plot line with Nesta and her character growth, which is great, but I do wish, for how long this book was, I just wish we had gotten more of the war that was being talked about. Other than that, I mean, I still will continue the series when the other books come out. I'm hoping we get Asriel's story. I'm waiting for that. Sarah, give me a boy Asriel. He's my favorite, and we do not get anything on him. So, Court of Silver Flames, I did give this one a 3-star. Once again, average read for me. I didn't really get much from that exciting war aspect, but I did get a lot with the character growth, and I really enjoyed Nesta, so that's where I kind of fell in the middle. The next book I read was a book that I had wanted to read for a while now, and this is The Measure by Nikki Erlich. This one's really interesting because these characters, all of a sudden they wake up, and there's a box on their front porch, and every single person in the world that is above, I think once you turn 22, you get a box. So everybody above 22 wakes up, they find this box on their porch. If you open it, it tells you how long you were going to live for. Obviously, a lot of people freak out over that information. I personally would not want to know when my time is up because I just think that's terrifying. But you follow, I think, 8 different characters throughout this book and their point of views, and they all have different lengths of this string that came in the box that determine how long they have to live. It's really interesting to see how each different character handles it because of what they have gone through, what they are going through. And I really enjoyed this book. I think it was a great concept. If you're going into this looking for any expectation on finding out why these boxes came to be, you're not going to get that. It literally is just a thing where nobody knows what happened to it and you don't know by the end. It's just a phenomenon that happened and it can't be explained. I think I would have appreciated it more if there were less characters because I just feel like 8 was kind of too much. But once again, it was nice to get a lot of different characters because you could see the different situations with the lengths of the strings and everybody's different personalities and how they deal with this situation. It makes you think about life in the world. It definitely is a book that will allow you to step into someone else's shoes and experience what they're dealing with for a little bit. And a lot of these characters are connected. That was also fun. If this happened in the real world, you would get a lot of political things popping up, and there was that in this book, which I don't necessarily like real world type politics in this. I'd rather have fantasy politics because we all know politics are messed up. So it's really hard to read about it, especially this. And it was so crazy because the time that I was reading this with what was happening in America was so insane because there was a scene in this book that literally matched up to what was happening in our world. Oh my god, it was so weird to read. I definitely recommend this book. It makes you think and it brings you down to other people's lives and you get to experience different situations. You do get a lot of different countries' point of views too, or just little snippets from different countries on how their government is handling this whole box thing. And it really goes to show you how crazy it is that different countries can control their people in different ways. I think everybody should read it. It's a super fun concept, but it also hits deep. And then I do have another vlog for these next 2 books. This was my mood reading vlog. You can go watch that if you have not seen that, if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts. But this is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book to the Powerless trilogy. I gave this one a 4 stars. I'm just going to start out with my rating because this is the second book, so I won't talk about it too much. I really like Powerless. I like the writing. I like the characters and the banter. Plot-wise, for me, this series falls flat. I think there could be so much more in this. There's a lot of potential for this world and this magic system to get intense and crazy, and I haven't gotten that yet, so for me, this series so far, I am 10 out of 10 stars for the romance and the characters. Plot-wise, I don't enjoy it as much, but I still just love the characters so much that they could do anything, and I'm here for it. I did enjoy this book a lot. It's definitely a filler book to get to the next book, which I don't like because I feel like every book in a series should be, I don't know, I don't think there should be filler books, and I hate when they're kind of boring or there's nothing to them just to get to the next one because you should make every book super worth it. I still enjoy this, but it did suck that it was kind of laid back and not too much happened. I'm nervous for the 3rd book. I literally have no idea where she's gonna go with this series. If she hurts us, I swear, Lauren, please be nice to us. Please give us what we want. Next up, I read Babel by R.F. Kuang. This book has been on my TBR for a while, and I read the Poppy War trilogy. I feel like I talk about this so much that I should probably shut up about the Poppy War trilogy and R.F. Kuang, but I like R.F. Kuang's writing. I'm not gonna shut up about it. But I read the Poppy War trilogy by this author, and I really, really enjoyed it, so of course I had to pick up another book by R.F. Kuang. I love this one too. This one is set back in the 1800s, kind of early to mid 1800s, and we are following our main character Robin, who grew up in China, but there was a plague going around. His parents were affected by the plague, and he was the only one that was left. This professor from Oxford shows up kind of out of nowhere. He tells Robin that he can either go back to Oxford with him and study translation, or he can stay in his hometown and kind of live a terrible life because of the plague and how things are going there. He's not really gonna have a lot of opportunities there. Of course, Robin goes with this professor and he tries to get a better life for himself. You go there, you meet new characters. They're all working in the Tower of Babel and studying there, and then the fantasy element comes in where there is this silver working with these silver bars. Basically, since it's all about translation and languages, if you have one word in a certain language and then you kind of find a word that relates to it in some way in a separate language, you can say both of them, and then these silver bars have some sort of magic that can do whatever those words mean. It's really confusing to try to explain without an example. By going through this, you have these characters studying at Oxford and in the Tower of Babel. It's set in London, so you're dealing with a lot of white people who just can't accept the fact that there are people from different places in the world. You have these characters who are of different races. You're following them through their struggles of learning at this university. This does talk about the war between silver and opium, between Britain and China. It gets intense, and with R.F. Kuang's books that I've noticed so far is that I can't go into this expecting not to get sad. So if you ever read her books, don't think that you're gonna get anything that's gonna be like, oh, like, this book made me so happy. No, it's gonna make you cry and you're gonna be sad. I don't know why I didn't expect to be hurt with this one, because I was. I was hurt a lot, but I liked it. I highly recommend this book though. Any book by this author so far, I really loved, and I think this is going to be an autobiography for me. I always love finding those. I really love the themes in her books and the messages you get a lot with these characters dealing with doing what is right, but knowing that the life that they want may not end up being good because they are doing the right thing. And it sucks, but it's reality in a lot of places, and that's not a good thing. But this book really depicts a lot of bad things that are happening and a lot of bad things that have happened in the world. I highly recommend Arc to anybody. Babel, I gave a 4 stars. It was just a little long to me. I feel like there was a lot of slowness in the beginning, but the ending was insane. And anytime I think about the end of her books, I just get like my heart hurts. My heart hurts so much. Next book, I'm pulling out my phone because I definitely had some notes in here that I need to talk about. This one was my 1-star read. This is Life Unaware by Cole Gibson. This is a book that I went into kind of blind. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. It was just a book that my sister was getting rid of, so I picked it up. It mainly focuses on bullying in high school life. The main character in this book is one of the popular students. They just think that they're better than everybody else. So of course, reading about that is already a little frustrating. Basically, she's a bully and she gets called out. Something happens in her school where she's put on blast about everything that she has said to people and these messages that she has been sending. She's like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, this is really bad. Now I'm seen as a bad person. I don't want to be seen as a bad person because I'm popular. Also, I'm just gonna say, I'm probably gonna spoil this book. I need to talk about it. If you by any chance want to read this, please just skip over this and know that I gave it a 1 star. But if you don't care and you want to hear me rant and go on a little bit about this book, then feel free to stick around for these next couple minutes probably. The intention of this book was supposed to be that character growth in our main character, where we had her as a bully and then she gets put on blast, realizes what she has done was very wrong, and then she grows as a person and she's a good person now. And I think the best way I can go into talking about these certain situations that made me not like the book is just give you examples of what happened. So the first, she was like walking in the hallways at school. Somebody dropped something and she offered to help that person. And it literally said she stepped back surprised at what she said. She was surprised that she had offered somebody to help. Like, the fact that you even have to be surprised that you want to help somebody is insane and just basically says that you're not a good person. There were so many moments where another character that was kind of helping her with the situation was telling her, just be your real self. You know who you really are. You know that you're a good person. No, this whole book, she's not a good person. That's not her real self. Her real self is she was a bully and she tore people down and said mean things to them. And then what, this person's gonna try to convince her that wasn't the real her? That's what she's been doing her whole life. Like, yes, that's the real her. But yeah, there were just a lot of quotes in here from her saying that she just wanted to be popular, and she was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be popular anymore, like blah blah blah. And I find that annoying because you can be a popular person, but you should be a good person. I don't understand why being popular in a lot of young adult books has to mean that the person is a bully and they just have to be rude. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is there was this girl that was being bullied by our main character, Regan. That person did not take it well at all. They tried to end their life, and then the whole time you're trying to figure out why they weren't in that school anymore because they didn't go to that school, they left. The other character that Regan ends up working with to make like an apology video, he was filming a documentary the whole time. Literally like everything that's happening when she's bullying and she's getting that backlash, he's in her face with her phone recording the whole situation. But then they end up like getting close and working together and becoming friends and having crushes on each other. He was dating the girl that Regan bullied. The guy who's filming the documentary has this other friend and they're kind of working on it together. He tells Regan, let me set up a camera for you. You can film an apology and we'll play it to the whole school. They make like an anti-bullying documentary. It's called Life Unaware. They play it in front of the whole entire school, which something goes completely wrong. The other girl that was working on this documentary puts in a part of a video that they had where it completely outed another character, and that was displayed to the whole school, so now the whole school knows. And then the principal immediately comes on the intercom and it's like, can these two people come to the office? Sorry, we did not approve of this video, blah blah blah. It's like, if a student wants to play a video, like how are you playing it to the whole school when you didn't approve of this video? How did you not watch it? There's no way authority would not watch a whole video that is being broadcast to the whole entire school. But the character who got outed ends up being in the bathroom. They're trying to find her and she attempts to overdose. And then our main character has the audacity to see that and thinks, oh, that could have been me. Are you kidding me? Like somebody like, oh my God, I couldn't. Why are you worrying about yourself right now? This person is literally in need of medical attention, like severe medical attention. And then you're just gonna be like, oh my God, what if that was me? Last thing, I'm gonna read a quote from this with the whole situation of the first person that tried to end their life and the reason why this documentary was filmed and took the wrong turn. So the other girl that was working on the documentary, she said Jordan Harrison tried to kill herself because of the torment she endured at school from bullies. She nearly died, may have permanent intestinal damage as well as psychological scarring from what was done to her. Her bullies, however, have suffered no repercussions from their actions. They get to continue to live their lives as they always have, hurting people, making them suffer with no thought to the consequences of the pain they inflict. Which that makes sense, right? But then she says, I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let more people get hurt because of them. And what better way to teach bullies about the consequences of abuse than for them to experience firsthand the very bullying they dish out on others. That's where the idea for Life Unaware was born, which was the documentary she made. In order for the experiment to work, we needed the bullies to become targets. We knew that wouldn't be difficult. It's high school after all. Everyone has secrets. I completely understand the intention of having bullies feel what they put others through, but the fact that you are just dishing out the same thing and then you're turning into that person is not okay. Like, that's not the message that we need to get across. And I didn't like that at all. I think it takes so much courage and effort to be the better person, but when you step up and you are the better person and you just continue to be good yourself, that's the most important thing. That didn't happen in this book at all. I didn't like it and I don't want to talk about it anymore, so there's that. I'm sorry for my rant. I don't like bashing books that much, but it really rubbed me the wrong way in so many different times throughout, and I just couldn't. Okay. Next up, going on a little lighter note, we have Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I kind of liked the first one, and this one was also okay. The writing in this is very flat to me. It's very tell and not show. It's definitely not something that I can ever enjoy too much, but I do still really like the concept of these books. They're very fun small town romances, and it's just an easy breezy read. This follows Ada and Weston. So Ada is an interior designer. She works on a lot of renovations, and Weston is working on the ranch. He has this house or building that he wants to make into a little tiny bed and breakfast. In the first book, you get the information that Ada is going to come work on this house and she's going to renovate it and help Weston out. So you're just following their romance. You don't get too much on the whole interior design process or the renovation process, which I always love that backing plot in a romance, and we just didn't get that at all. So I would have liked this book a lot more if we were focused on the renovation, because I really like those tiny moments in a romance book where you have the characters just doing completely normal things or day-to-day things and they grow their connection from that. Obviously, you get the dates throughout these books and they're spending time with each other in a romantic setting, and that grows their relationship, which is nice, but I feel like the little moments are super important too. This one was alright to me. I gave it 3 stars. I still want to continue this series, but I know that I'm not going to find any books in the series that are really going to speak to me a lot. Sometimes that's okay, but I'm very excited for the next book because in the first book we were hinted at that one, and I just cannot wait for those characters. And then we had Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. This is the 3rd book in the Love Light series. That series consists of 4 books, and each book follows a different season. It takes place in a different season. This is the summer book, and I was super excited for this because this was going to be my beach read. Unfortunately, I was completely let down with the vibes. I was really expecting sunshine like radiating off of these pages, and it was not at all. I didn't feel summer with this in any way, and I'm really sad about that because I was waiting to read this in prime summertime, but that's not the point of this book. This is romance, so we are following our main characters Layla and Caleb. We got a glimpse of them in the first book, and I loved their little interaction in the first book. I think it was super sweet, so I was excited for this one. And I will say, I think the interaction they had in the first book made me feel more than any of the interactions they had in this one, and I hate that I have to say that, but this one is a fake dating romance. I have a thing where some romances I feel like are just better without tropes. I think a lot of romances now have tropes written into them because everybody talked about how much they love certain tropes. This one just didn't do it for me. I don't think the fake dating was necessary at all. It kind of didn't work with the characters and their personalities. It would have just been nice to get a regular romance between them and see their growth as people and how they build their relationship. I don't think the fake dating was necessary at all. And thinking about it, I don't really think there would have been any other trope that I would have fit with them. So I really just wish this would have been a basic romance book, but I really like these 2 characters. I think they're super sweet. They're very reserved, and I like that because I'm a reserved person, so when I read a romance about reserved people and little introverts, I just appreciate it a lot. I don't necessarily know if I feel like they're gonna last. You know, when you read romance books and some characters just work together, and then some books you read and it's like, they might break up or they might not last. It just doesn't feel like these 2 were meant for each other. But I love the small town in this. These characters are so sweet. I like their friendship group, and I like this little found family. The second book is still my favorite. This one might be my least favorite, honestly. I have 1 book left. We'll see how it goes. I did give this one a 3 stars also. I had things that I really liked and then things that I really didn't like. On to our last book. This is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I was really nervous to pick this book up because I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I didn't like that book. I liked the writing, but I just did not like the concept of that book. I'm not going to go into it because it's not part of this wrap up, but I was nervous to get into another book by her because I rated Invisible Life kind of lower, but I'm glad that I picked this up. And this one I gave a 4.5 stars. This is my highest rated book throughout the month. I really enjoyed this. This is a young adult fantasy, but I honestly feel like it can be catered to middle grade, young adult, and adult. It's just a really nice, fun read, and it's very mysterious, very eerie. I really like the vibes that the writing was given off. I love when an author can paint the picture and just set the whole scene for me. I felt the emotions, I felt the vibes, and it was great. I got that eerie feeling. The concept of this one, we were following our main character Olivia, and she doesn't have her parents anymore, so she's left in this school of girls. She does not like it there at all. She doesn't talk, she can't speak, so she gets made fun of a lot, and the other girls don't really like her because of that. She doesn't have any friends, so she's very alone. All she really has is her mother's diary or her journal. She just constantly rereads her mother's journal and sees what she has to say. She doesn't know her mother, she doesn't know her father, she has no idea what happened to them. She's just really hoping to find answers, and then one day she gets called to like the head office. They tell her that she has a letter, and it's from her uncle that is saying, oh, thank goodness we finally found you, we were looking for you, because nobody knew what school her mother put her in. He's telling her that he is welcoming her home to their house in their manor, and this car takes her to this house which is called Gallant. She arrives there, she meets 3 people who are technically her family. After that, I don't want to give away too much, it's very fun to find out along the way. It's super creepy, very mysterious. You go the whole time having questions about what happened to her parents and what is happening in this world and why this house is kind of so spooky. I definitely recommend this book. I just think it was a fun journey. The only thing and the reason why I didn't give this a 5 was because the ending didn't really seem to have too much progression. We did get a little epilogue, but it didn't really explain too much, and I just wish we had gotten more on the ending and more of what had happened after. It kind of just fell a little flat to me, and that's why I didn't love this as much as I possibly could have. So I did give this 4.5 stars. Very crazy, kind of spooky, good read. All right, and then that is the end of my wrap up. These are the 9 books that I read throughout the month of July. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are fine with me sitting here ranting and talking about all the books that I read. If you read any of these, let me know. Let me know what you thought about them. If you're gonna add any of these to your TBR, let me know which ones you are going to add. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys had a fun time. I will see you in my next video, whatever that may be. I hope you have a great day and a great night wherever you are, and I will see you later. Bye.